No, you're not going out there. It's hail. Nope. Glad it didn't storm hard enough or long enough to take all the flowers off the trees. So we got a big storm last night. It lasted probably less than 5 minutes. We got little hail, and I heard the hail, so I came out and took those videos to see how bad it was, because there had been hail damage in another part of Kentucky a few days ago, and I was kind of worried. I was more worried for my roof and my trees, I think. But no vehicles outside. I have a garage, so yeah, I don't like storms anymore. I used to love them, especially when I lived in Tucson. Every afternoon in the summertime, the monsoons would come in, and you would get these violent storms with pounding rain, lightning, thunder. I loved it. I would go outside my dorm room and watch it. I don't do that anymore. I don't step outside anymore. I might open my door or window to see how bad it is, but I usually don't step outside anymore. I think when you get older, you realize you can get struck by lightning. I just checked on the dogs. They're not wanting to come in, especially Dinky. He loves it out there. Oh, you want to see my daffodils? These are the ones from in back, and these others I think came from out front. They've all opened. I like the, what do you call them, double, more than the other kind, more than the single bloom type. So today it is chilly, sunny, beautiful, but that wind is cold still. So, and the ground's saturated with water again. So I can't really, well, I could, but I don't want to work in mud. I have to go to the bank today. So my daughter's coming for a little bit to watch the dogs. Still no news on her place, which is getting ridiculous. Just had to warm up my second cup of coffee. It's hot. So I thought I'd finish the questions. So the microwave air fryer, mine is a Toshiba brand. Someone asked me about it. So let me go show you. And someone asked me why I joined the Air Force. So I was living in a small town, about the same size I'm living in now, in Nevada. So the only jobs there were in casinos, restaurants, and driving an hour to Reno. So, or an hour to some other warehouse type job. And the last job I had there, so all the jobs I had in Nevada, besides babysitting and pet sitting, I was a drink girl at a fast food place, a bus girl at a casino. I was a waitress at a country kitchen type place. I was a horrible waitress. I only worked there a month and I fired myself because I didn't think they were gonna keep me anyway. And I knew I was bad. I was extremely shy, painfully shy. I would forget parts of the order. I was not a good waitress. So I did that. And then my mom was working out at an onion dehydration plant out in the middle of the desert. It was an hour drive one way. And she worked graveyard shift. So I started working there with her. She basically got me the job. And I made fairly good money. But it was a miserable job, and it was only seasonal. It was through the spring and summer and maybe a little bit in the fall, and then they would shut down for a couple months. The only year they didn't shut down was when they did celery. And that was a mess. They retrofitted the machines to take in celery, and the celery was disgusting. It had frogs leaping out. So it came in so the celery was wet. The onions came into the building dry, and they would fill the hopper up with a front load. I think it's a front loader, into this big hopper above our heads. And we were supposed to wear those cheapy little face masks. They weren't the ones with, they weren't the M90s or whatever. They were just the cheapy throwaway ones. I guess you would buy to sand drywall in your house if you weren't a professional. I guess if you're a professional, you're going to wear something more substantial. But yeah, they didn't help. And sometimes it was so hot that we would not wear the masks for a while. And I think that's why I have breathing issues, because of all that dust I breathed in. Because even when you wore the mask and you would come in on break and you would blow your nose, all that dust would come out. It was disgusting. So all this dust, you were coated in dust, and we would wear scarves sometimes, and it would just coat you completely. And then inside so we had 2 people work out on the outside belt, and then between 3 and 5 people on the inside, picking all the dirt clods, rocks, and whatever came through the belt. All the debris. A lot of things got through. So when you're eating a Mickey D's hamburger, those are dehydrated onions from factories like that. I could tell you stories. Yeah. So we did celery one year. I think that's the only year they did it because it was such a mess. The inspectors had to, at the end of the line, CQ, I think is what they were called, quality control. QC. I don't know. They were the quality control people who actually went through and made sure there wasn't too much debris in each barrel at the end of the line, and there was all kinds of stuff. So in celery, it was 10 times worse because it came in wet. The belt's running so fast that you can't get all the gunk out. Frogs were leaping off. There were slugs, mites all over it. They're rotten pieces. So I quit eating dry dry soup mixes because, yeah, for a long time I couldn't do it. And I know I probably eat some bugs out of my garden, but it's kind of different when you see the manufacturing process. It's yeah, not good. And there was a creepy guy who, I don't know if I want to talk about this, but I found out he did something horrible years later. Well, I found out years later that he did this. Yeah, so my prospects were keep working at the onion plant, or so that after you worked at the onion plant, even when they shut down, you would smell like onions for months afterwards. It's in your clothes, in your hair, it's in your pores. I just didn't want to do that for the rest of my life. I used to lay out in the sun sometimes, and you would just get this aroma of onions when you were out there coming from your own body. It wasn't pleasant. And I love onions. I cook them with almost everything I eat. But yeah, didn't want to do that for the rest of my life. The reason I went in the Air Force is both of my brothers went into the Air Force. They only stayed in 4 years each, but they both got good jobs after they came out, and it was the start of the big computer. Everybody was talking about getting into computer science, and it was the big thing. So it was 1984. So I decided to do that. So it was either computers, and I was talking to the recruiters. I think there were several things that I put down: computers, like data entry type stuff, and a medevac type job. I don't remember the exact name of it, like a medic that goes up in the helicopters, which wasn't a good thing because I hate flying. And I've been in a helicopter since, and I'm glad I didn't get that job. But when we were doing when I was at the MEPS station, you had to be able to lift 150 pounds from the ground over your head, hold it, and bring it down in. I failed that part of it, so yeah. And I'm kind of glad I'm really glad I didn't get it. So I became a maintenance scheduler, which was bad. I didn't mind the job so much. It was frustrating. So the first the first job I had was engine tracking in Davis-Monthan in Arizona. And it was keeping track of engines. You just basically type in, we get engine cards from the crew chiefs through the flight chiefs. And sometimes they weren't correct. And you would have to call and they would tell you, yeah, they're right, but it didn't match. Didn't make sense with what was in the computer. So that was sometimes frustrating. Back when we did all the computer readings were on the black screen with the green type, and you just did it in a line. Yeah, it was really, really old, really antique computer stuff. And then I went to Germany, and my job changed. I didn't work with engines specifically. I worked with whole F-16s. So I had to do the flight schedules and maintenance and put it into a weekly schedule that I had to print out and paperclip together. Now that's all computerized. Thank goodness, because we used a spit board, just plexiglass taped together with the week mapped out on there, and then you would use a dry erase. Is it dry erase? No, it wasn't dry erase. It was a marker, but it was when you could just spit and erase off there with the tissue. Yeah, it was kind of gross, but the things you do. Now that's all computerized. It was really frustrating in Germany. I loved it there, but I would do all this work, and then towards the end of the week, I would think it's perfect. I would go out and talk to the squadron. What are they called? I can't remember what they're called now. They are, so the crew chiefs, and there were two groups, I think A and B flight. They were broken up and they had the leaders of each, and I would they would coordinate everything and be over top of the guys working for them that actually worked on the jets. Flight chief, I think. Anyway, I would go out and talk to them and make sure there was no problems with the jets that I was trying to fly the next week. And all winter and all spring, we would get ice fog in Germany. So I would do all that work. They would configure all the jets, and then we would get ice fog, and it would weather cancel everything. So that was really frustrating. All that work that everybody did, and it was for nothing. It was kind of fun. It was like a big puzzle. You had to really communicate and figure out, know which jets were broken or might have an issue or need maintenance coming up or whatever. So they asked me if I would enlist today. I think they said re-enlist, but I'm too old to re-enlist. I did kind of regret leaving Germany. I regretted getting out because I had a hard time finding a job in my career field. So that's another thing. I didn't make rank. And I got off track earlier when I was talking about this. So my career field was top heavy. And so a lot of people, so before I joined the Air Force, you had to have a maintenance background in order to get into my career field. About the time I went in, they waived that, and so they were taking in people who were just coming in. I think there was a shortage or something of the younger people, and that really made it bad for me. I didn't know this. I wish I had. I wish they had told me, because they were so top heavy. All us people in the bottom couldn't make rank. So I was an E4 until I got out, because every time I would test, I would miss the cutoff by 0.0000 whatever. It was really frustrating. I know people who were in before me who couldn't make rank either. I think they got up to tech sergeant after years and years of being in. And then right after I got out, I think Bill Clinton was president, and he closed Hahn and a lot of other bases, and they, all of them, wasn't just him, they decided to give early outs to people, and I know one or two of my coworkers took the early out. So they got out 3 or 4 years earlier than the 20 years that you need to get full retirement. Yeah, it was really hard to make rank in my career field. It was, so maybe it's a good thing I did get out. But I think about how much easier my life would have been if I hadn't left. And so I met somebody, and he got stationed back to the States, and like a dummy, because I had seen other women do this, and I thought, God, they're stupid. I thought, don't do it. You're going to regret it. Don't get out and follow some guy somewhere. And then I did the same thing. Yeah. And I tried to get a job in my career field at 2 different places, one in Arizona, and later when we moved back to Nevada for a little bit, I tried to get a job out of the naval base in Fallon, where my parents lived. And I'm pretty sure, because I was former Air Force and a woman, that they didn't want to hire me. And the guy interviewing me pretty much told me that. He was making disparaging comments about the Air Force and how specialized we were and how we couldn't do anything but one job. And I just thought, okay. And he made sure to tell me that he had some guy who just got out of the Navy after me. He was going to interview him. And yeah, I kind of knew I didn't get the job after talking to him, because he had already made his mind up before I even showed up. I guess he just wanted to show me that, yeah, that, I don't know. Would I re-enlist or would I enlist if I was younger today? Maybe, because the job, well, I don't know, the political things that are going on, it's kind of scary. That might stop me until somebody else was in charge. But economically, if I didn't have any prospects and didn't think I could support myself, I probably would, because young people are even going to college and having trouble getting jobs in whatever they were going to school for. So unless you're in healthcare, not working for the VA. Yeah, unless you're in healthcare, especially nursing and doctors, there's a shortage, and probably CNAs. It's really hard to get a good paying job these days. So I'm gonna get this soup started. I'm gonna start by sauteing the rest of the celery and onions out of the freezer in a little bit of oil. Just sauteing. I'm gonna see what I can put in my corn a little bit. So I don't normally put bell peppers in my soup, but I think I'm gonna put some bell peppers because I have so many. Green beans. These are all bell peppers. Tomatoes. Cabbage. I'm just gonna put 1.5 bags of bell peppers in there. Peas. And that's what's left for about a week. I don't think I'm gonna put all of this stuff in here. Half of the cabbage is from my garden. Tomatoes. Bell peppers. Corn. Green beans. I only put half the green beans. A little overcooked. Onions and celery. Some peas. Also have some kidney beans, but I'm not going to put them in until it's done because they're already cooked. I don't want them to get mushy. Some white cabbage that I need to do something with, so I'm going to put it in here. It's getting a little rubbery. The rest I'm going to fry later and make some egg, rice, cheese, and cabbage. So I put those chives in there. I thought I had been videotaping, but it wasn't on. Speaking of dehydrated onions, we're just not going to think about that. Put some salt. Pepper, garlic powder. This probably was processed the exact same way as the onions where I used to work. I think I'm going to try some smoked paprika in this. bouillon cubes. I only have chicken, so I don't know how many, see how many cups of water. Make sure I'm not above the fill line here. I'm good. So 6 cups. 6. Because you're supposed to use 1 bouillon cube for each cup. Thinking about using the can of garbanzo beans that are in the chickpeas that are in the cabinet too. I'll make up my mind when this part is done. So it's almost 9 o'clock. I'm warming up my dinner finally. My daughter came this afternoon, and so she was keeping an eye on the dogs so that I could run to the bank and run and get a seal thing for the toilet. So I went to the bank, and then I went to a local hardware store, the other one in town. The other one didn't have one. I think I went last week. They didn't have the brand that I wanted. So then I went all the way to Lowe's. And that's in another town. I went to Lowe's. I also looked for another grow light while I was there, a shop light, and they only had really expensive ones, so I didn't get one, but I did get some seeds. I got giant sunflowers, sweet peppers, 2 bell peppers, and little sweet peppers. I'm going to start those this week, all of them. Maybe not the sunflowers. Anyway, what else did I get? I got some more hangers to hang the remaining pictures that I haven't still put up. I can't find the ones I took out of the wall, so. And then I was hungry, so I went through Chick-fil-A and got the little 5-piece chicken nuggets, and I ate them in the parking lot of Harbor Freight. I went back to see if they had another shop light, and all they had was the $54 one. So I didn't get another shop light. I came home and my daughter and I talked for a while. Hasn't been too long since she left, maybe an hour. She was looking at apartments. She's gonna go look at some tomorrow. She's still having issues with her apartment. It's still not cleaned up. They haven't cleaned under the floors. They haven't done anything. And they told her they were going to talk to her tomorrow about it. So we'll see if she can get out of her lease and find somewhere else to go. So I have my bean soup. I don't know if you can see that. It's not really bean, I guess it's bean soup. It's got beans in it. It has beans, garbanzo beans, a bunch of vegetables, and chicken stock. I also, after it was done in the Instant Pot, I ended up having to put 2 more bouillon cubes and more seasonings of everything. And I even added some chili powder and cumin, however you pronounce that, because there wasn't a lot of flavor. There is now, I think. Just gonna try it. I warmed it up with rice too. And it's still not very hot after 2 minutes. I'm gonna go eat. Thank you all for watching. Take care. Bye.